Revolution is beginning, but the days will soon ascend. They want us to think we're sinning, cause we don't move and breathe like them. The ground we walk is hollow, filled with bones and tears and sorrow. Not a disciple we do not follow. We are here to heal the men. Earth's been here for millions of years. They killed it in 200, bask in blood and feed on fear. All the new gods we must summon. They saw that we were many, so they created these binaries and killed the visionaries. We do not break, we only bend. My body is my body. Oh, my body. It's my body. Oh.
Hey, greetings and welcome to our show. I am Brother Marcus, and this is my co-host El Shabazz, and this is Let's Get to the Point. Coming up, excuse me, we got our topic tonight. We're going to be talking about politics, voting registration, and education when it comes to elections and everything. A lot of us don't know that we, number one, have the right to vote when we get through the system. We don't know how to get our rights back. If we can get our rights back, we don't know how to fill out a voter registration form, and we don't really even know how to navigate our way around the ballot. And well, I had a job not too long ago to educate random people that I come through across the street on exactly how to do that. And I'm going to share some of that information with you myself. El Shabazz is going to share some information with you about his experience in the political field in his local area. And then we're going to open up for questions. I can pretty much start. I live here in Tucson, Arizona. So some years ago, I worked for a company doing canvassing. And basically what I would do is I'd go around with a clipboard and I would have voter registration forms. I would also have information for people that need to get immigration law rights, and immigration lawyers, because I'm so close to Mexico. And also people that needed their rights restored. That summer, I ended up getting about 315 people rights restored to vote. And out of those 315 people here in Tucson, 125 of them even got their gun rights back. They had no idea that they were able to do this stuff. They didn't want to register to vote until I talked to them. They didn't know they could vote until I talked to them. And they sure didn't know that they could get their gun rights back. And so that was an awesome summer. And I'm here to share some of that information with you guys tonight. And when we open up our question segment, feel free to ask me how to do it where you're at, because each individual state and local area is different according to their own local laws on what you have to do. But I'd like to share with you at first. It's very important to register to vote. A lot of people, their first excuse when they say, I don't want to register to vote, I don't want to sign up for selective services. Well, selective services puts you on stuff like jury duty. And to dodge jury duty, you're actually doing an injustice to people that look just like you and me. Okay, so sign up for selective services. When you get your jury duty, go. All right, because that's the only way that somebody like yourself is going to get a jury of your peers.
Yeah, and quite frankly, and I was gonna say, quite frankly, most of the time, because it seems like once you go to one of them things, they keep calling you back, bro. They keep calling you back, and so most of the time when I go in to be on jury duty, they make me sit there for a little while, and then they send me home anyway. They don't even need me, so it's not that big of a deal like everybody trying to make it out to be.
Yeah. They'll reimburse you for any time that you missed at work, travel expenses or whatever, if you got to go there for jury duty. But 9 times out of 10, they're probably going to send you home. They want specific people on that jury box, and oftentimes people coming from where we've been in life, we don't fit the description, if you know what I mean. The other thing is a lot of people say voting don't work. Voting don't work. I was registering people to vote during the Donald Trump election, when Donald Trump got elected. And people said, I'm not going to vote because the president don't matter and this and that and the other. My vote don't count. And on the electoral college side, it kind of don't, to be honest with you. They go by the electoral college, and you have people in your district of your state that actually look at the people's vote and actually have the final say on that. And that's why they do electoral college votes when it comes to presidential elections. But when it comes to the more intimate elections, such as your Chamber of Commerce, your city hall, your school board, park and recreation boards, the people that design your highways and fix some potholes that everybody's talking about right now because winter time's about to be over. That determines what type of funding gets put into your ward. So your ward representative, your city council representative, your school board representative. If you don't vote for those things, then you didn't even try to make a difference in the community that you live in. The ways that your schools are run and anything. So they say that's why they say if you don't vote, don't complain. Hey, excuse me. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say prime example. Out here where I live at in Park Forest, Illinois, the chick that was on the school board. Okay, mind you, the top educator in the entire United States of America that's assigned to the Minister of Education or whatever for the whole country. He only makes $100-some grand a year. Okay, this chick out here that, again, like you said, nobody was really paying attention. We all thought that she had her best, our best interests in mind when she got the job. A lot of people didn't come out and vote. She won the vote because a lot of people didn't vote, and the ones that did vote were her people. And so she ended up giving herself the salary of $400,000 a year for the school board out here where I stay at.
Oh boy.
400 bands a year. You understand me? And she was training somebody to do her job for her. So them local elections, they really do make a difference, like you said, bro.
Definitely they do. Here recently in the last election, we got the first Black woman elected to the school board, and we wouldn't have been able to do that here in Tucson, Arizona, especially with the state having barely a 3% Black population, let alone the city, very, very small Black population. We wouldn't have been able to do that if we didn't mobilize a vote. And so that's why a lot of us, and even though I don't get paid to do it, anytime election season comes, I always encourage people to get out there and vote. And the very first thing that you need to look up is like the judges. Get to know your judges because you have not only your criminal court judges, but your civil court judges and all that too, as well as your sheriff. All these people are elected. The judge and the sheriff is not a job where you go and apply and the best candidate gets the job. These people are elected to the bench and elected to the badge when it comes to stuff like that. Police commissioners, I believe, are elected. Police chiefs might be elected too, if I'm not mistaken, depending on certain areas that they're in. I think certain states and counties have their cities have their police chiefs be elected by the people as well. Others don't. And a lot of that's individual to each and every location. But at that same time, we need to research, right? And I was looking for it for the last year. It's packed away in my stuff. When you sign up to vote, you can hit up your voter registry in your local county, and they'll give you a booklet that comes out, and they usually send it out in the mail to most people. And in that booklet it has every single candidate, right? So don't be afraid to read or anything, because there's a lot of information in there, and you get to see who are these people on the ballot and what do they stand for, and do you want them in office or don't you? And one main thing I always tell people when they're voting is leave it alone if you don't know. Don't just randomly check stuff, because you're probably going to shoot yourself in the foot. You don't have to check every single box when you vote. The only thing that you need to vote is a valid state ID with current address and to be a U.S. citizen. That's what you need to vote.
You touched on something earlier, and I'm real curious. Hey, so earlier you said that in your state, in Arizona, that you was able to get some people back their gun cards and let them get gun cards even after they had their felony after a certain amount of time, and if whatever hoops they had to jump through. If you could expand on that a little bit more, because I'm super curious about that.
All right, I'm going to get it for y'all in writing really quick, so I'm not paraphrasing here. Here in Arizona, after all sentencing requirements, including the applicable fines and restitution, has been met, rights are automatically restored. In these cases, the Bureau of Prisons or the Arizona State Department of Corrections will grant a first-time felon's absolute discharge. which means they vacate the charges. If this is your first offense, they vacate it, right? And then boom, your record's sealed. It's not going to come up. You're going to get your rights back. Let's say you get in trouble again. That's when you have to, let's see. That's the first one is you get a discharge from imprisonment. Gun rights, the firearm rights restoration process takes about 5 months. The courts can charge a filing fee. People convicted of non-serious offenses in Arizona may apply for a firearms right restoration 2 years after the case ends. People convicted of a serious offense must wait 10 years after the case ends. So Arizona wants you to have your guns. They're going to help you do it. And this is on the county attorney's website. So the people that throw you in jail are telling you this. Back in Minnesota, no. I can vote. You can vote in Minnesota, where I'm from. You can vote right when you get off parole or probation, but you have to apply to get your gun rights back. And you have to get pardoned to get your gun rights back. And a lady that's in charge of doing the pardoning in Minnesota don't pardon anybody. Her favorite word is no. So I have 3 felonies. I would have to pay a lawyer on the low end $1,800 per felony. One of my charges is felon in possession of a firearm, which is actually a federal offense. Okay. Thanks to Jesse Ventura. That was our governor in Minnesota. So even if I got it pardoned in the state of Minnesota, which Minnesota is going to say no, I would have to get a pardon in the Supreme Court. And I have to get a federal pardon in order for me to get my gun rights back. Because Minnesota says if you're a felon in possession of a firearm, you should never have a firearm again. If you're a violent felon, you should never have a firearm. And so does the federal law. So I'd have to pay, what's that, 18 times 3, $4,600. And then I'd have to pay whatever my court fees are out of pocket to go to federal court to get I'd have to go through a lot.
So you'd have to basically buy a second home then to do that.
Pretty much.
Wow.
Pretty much. I have to buy a second cheap home and just to get my gun rights back. So I have a choice to make when it comes to a firearm, don't I? I don't got money like that. I'm not recommending anybody do anything illegal, but each and every state, like I'm remembering that Florida. So I'm gonna look it up in Florida real quick, just to give you accurate. I remember Florida was the hardest one.
Yeah, just recently I remember when they were campaigning, because I was sharing a bunch of their information for the people that was campaigning on my social media when they was going through it, because it was a big deal for them, just for people to get their voting rights back, period, that had been convicted of a felony. I can't remember. They made a big deal about the number of the docket or the act or whatever, but I remember that was a couple of years ago when they finally got their rights back to vote.
Okay, I think general restoration of civil rights does not include restoration of right to own or possess firearm in the state of Florida. In order to restore firearm authority, an application is required, and there is a waiting period of 8 years from the date sentence expired or supervision terminated. So you have to wait 8 years in Florida, and then you got to pay up all your fines and everything, and then you got to apply for it and pay those fees, and hope that they give you your guns back. Florida has a can a felon be around a gun in Florida? According to Florida statute 790.23, felons are not allowed to possess or control any firearm, ammunition, or electric weapon. The statute also establishes that a convicted felon is prohibited from carrying a concealed weapon, including chemical weapons or devices such as tear gas guns. So in Minnesota, I can't have a slingshot.
I believe
I can't have a slingshot. I can't have a slingshot. I can't have a can of mace. I can't have a taser. I better run or know how to use my hands.
Oh, on the real, I'm already.
Yeah, that's what they told me. Yeah, because they're like, no, you cannot have a gun. We cannot trust you.
I'm sure. I'm gonna be using my time tomorrow, probably on break or something after work or whatever, to see what Illinois is, because I'm pretty sure that you can't have no gun period forever in life after you've had a felony out here. But we'll see, because I'm definitely gonna look into it.
All right, check this out. If your petition for relief is granted by the court, your firearms rights will be restored, and Illinois State Police must issue a firearm owner's identification card, FOID, FOID. Having your FOID in Illinois' firearm rights restored should also fully restore your federal firearm rights. So let's see what voting rights do for Illinois. I know Illinois actually wasn't that hard compared to other places.
Yeah, no, I could vote. I'm good on the vote. Trust me, they sending me stuff in the mail all the time. Like, hey, you coming to vote, right? And I'm like, absolutely. I will be there.
Rights. If you are in Illinois, if you are incarcerated for a misdemeanor, you should check your voter registration status. Register to vote if necessary. Illinois is one of those states where if you're locked up for a misdemeanor, you can vote in jail there, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, they let you vote in jail. I think they just passed that law a couple of years ago. They're trying to pass that in Minnesota and a couple other places to where inmates will be able to vote, and they're yelling taxation without representation.
It's real. It's real. Trust me, we're gonna get into that tonight too. Believe it.
Yeah, but like all of this stuff is at your fingertips. It's all on Google. So no matter what state you live in, you don't have to wait for me to bring your state up. You can definitely get your phone out, you get your computer out, whatever, your tablet, whatever you're using, and say, I wonder if I can vote, and type in, how the requirements for you being a convicted felon or whatever to be able to vote, even possible, get your gun rights back. It was kind of discouraging for me because I'm like, man, I'm freeing all these people. I got to stay on a plantation. I'm never going to get my gun rights back. But if one of us got it, it felt really good to be able to help these people out. I still see them on the streets. They still walk up and slap my hand and give me a hug and tell me thank you.
So what you were doing, pardon about it, bro. What you was doing was that like a grant program where they had to they would give them a specific amount of cash and they could go out and get whatever materials and hire people to do this, or was just something that you was doing on the strength? Like there's no pay involved. They didn't give these people any money to go out and get anybody registered, no tablets, no nothing. They were just like, if you're gonna do it, do it. Or how did that work with you?
I worked with a company called Mi Familia Vota, and their target demographic was obviously the Chicano community here in Tucson.
Yeah,
and I got to work with them and stuff. I don't speak much Spanish, so I didn't get to work with all their demographic, but I do community outreach. I have the Black Man Stand Up movement. I've been a Black Panther affiliate for some years myself. You know what I mean? And I had boots on the ground, many different things, especially coming from Minneapolis. You know how we do in Minneapolis when it comes to activism and stuff. And so I ended up needing a job, and I ended up just getting that as a job, and I went and applied, and I got to work for them for a cool hot summer. And yeah, I mean, it was pretty cool. I paid like $16.50 an hour, and I worked from like 10 o'clock in the morning to 2 in the afternoon, Monday through Friday. Really short days, about 30 hours a week, decent pay. And I got to be outside all day in the Arizona sun. I got plenty of vitamin D. It was a cool summer. So, yeah.
So it was. So I'm assuming that they probably got some sort of a grant money, or maybe had some from like maybe the Hispanic caucus from out there, whatever.
Right.
In order for them to pay for that. So that's cool. That's one thing at least the government is, or politicians in general are good for when they're trying to. When they need something from you, they'll throw you a couple of dollars. Put like
right,
that.
Because the MFV that was a nonprofit. There's another one that I worked for here, Arizona Coalition for Change. They're also a nonprofit, so they get the nonprofit grants, and then they get in case you got the mind to do this yourself, because you can if you know how to fill out the paperwork. They get so much money allotted to them so that they can employ people to get out and get behind a candidate, an issue, and behind the strength of educate people and encourage people to vote. So with Arizona Coalition for Change, I didn't really have to talk to people, but I would take flyers and I'd go to neighborhoods and we'd put flyers on every door for different candidates, different issues. Sometimes we'd knock on the door and we'd just say, hey, do you know how to vote? Do you know how to do mail-in ballots? Mail-in ballots are a thing that a whole lot of people, they don't trust or whatever. I vote in the mail. You know what I mean? I get my ballot in the mail, and if I can't get it to a mailbox, I fill it out, put it in my thing, and I drop it off. I don't do the old school way. I haven't voted the old school way since Bill Clinton's. That was the first time.
I do the old school way myself. I do the old school way myself because they always got these cats up there that's trying to pass out flyers, and they trying to come in, and like when they come at me trying to talk, I'm trying to flip them every single time. You know what I mean? Because I know this is this is part of the topic, so I'm going to go ahead and get into it. As far as I'm concerned, my view on politics is that the Republicans and the Democrats, they basically rub each other's back so much, it's almost like they need to get a room or something. You know what I mean? They claim and they say on TV that they don't like each other, that they're trying to call attention to one's failings and then the other one's failings. But if you look at the votes, because it's all public record, they're voting for the same thing. Take the bill HR 7691, for instance, where they gave, all this money to Ukraine. Out of the Senate, 191 of them voted. 86 of them voted yes, 11 of them voted no, and 3 of them refused to vote on the bill. Okay. And so, earlier we had talked about it before the podcast. When they did polls of the American people, the American people basically couldn't afford an emergency that was over $400. They were telling these people, like, look, if there's an emergency and it's costing us more than $400, whether it be getting their car fixed or having to go to the hospital or whatever, it doesn't make a difference. Maybe the roof messes up in the tornadoes like we just had. If it's more than $400, they can't afford it. They're gonna be in debt. They're gonna be going through problems, possibly not eating, not having enough money to put gas in the car to go to work or to catch a cab or the bus or whatever they're doing. It's putting them in jeopardy. $400, dude, $400. And these people sat up here and gave $47 billion worth of loans and grants to the Ukrainians. 47 billion with a B to buy bullets and bombs, bro. Then they gave them another $23.5 billion to buy more weapons. Then they gave them 18.3 billion, another billion with a B for security assistance. Then they gave them $26.4 billion for financial, like to pay their people or whatever, different municipalities, maybe the soldiers, whatever. They gave them 3.9 billion for humanitarian aid. So if you add that up, they spent 61% of all that money that they gave them, all them billions they gave them, on bullets and bombs, while they only spent 39% on people and help, things to help the people. When you look at them on TV, they're steady saying, we need to stop the war. We need to stop, these people are getting killed and this and that. But they're sitting up here buying all these bullets and bombs, keeping this war going. They're not spending the majority of their money for these people to, have the humanitarian aid, so they have lights on, so they're not freezing to death,
right?
So that they have food and blankets, so that they'll have something warm to put on at nighttime, something to put in their bellies for the kids, the old folks, stuff like that. Man, they're full of it, dude. I'm telling you, they're full of it. That's why I would never vote Democrat or Republican again. I'm going green or independent every single time. And like you said, you want to look at, and I agree with you for the most part, to do the research, do your due diligence, do your research, check out the people that are on the ballot so you can figure out who you're going to vote for and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, whatever it does say about a Democrat or a Republican, I'm sorry, I'm jaded, whatever you want to call it. I am not voting for none of them. I'm going straight independent or green every single time, because the state of the country that we're in right now is, like I said, is ridiculous. They're taking money. They're taking money from us and they're giving it to people, and they're like doing it in such a form and fashion that super willy-nilly, all these big corporations are getting all these tax breaks. They're not even paying taxes in some cases. And every single time that I'm getting ready to go to get my check, I'm looking at my check and like half of it's gone, because that's how many taxes they've taken. And
hey, brother, pardon about it. We got break time right now. We just talking about this. Yeah, we just got carried away. So hey, we'll be right back with a little bit of question and answer, and to continue on with this discussion right after these messages. So stay tuned.
I want to talk to you about restorative justice, a surprising approach that might offer better outcomes for victims, offenders, and the communities they live in. And I want to suggest that in order for it to work, we all have to do our part. Now, restorative justice is not a new idea. Some people say it's the most common approach to justice across the world and throughout time, but that somewhere along the way, we forgot how to do it. It's a philosophy that says getting justice means repairing harm. In restorative justice, repairing harm happens through face-to-face dialogues between the people harmed and the people responsible. For instance, here in Colorado, hundreds of cases are diverted from the courts each year through restorative conferences that bring together victims, offenders, and affected community members to agree on how to repair harms after a property crime or an assault.
I spent 21 years, 7 months, and 29 days in prison for a crime I did not commit. I'm used to the system feeling me because I'm used to the systems feeling my people. As a black exoneree, it's parallel to the experience of like the one slave. You can be taken from a land and put into bondage. It's the same to me as being taken from your community and put in bondage because of the color of your skin. Get involved in correcting the injustice.
Make sure to check out the other show right here on Plus TV Network, Second Chance. I am Brother Marcus, and we are here with El Shabazz, and we can continue this conversation if there are no questions to get answers to right now. I don't see any in the inbox. We could walk and chew gum at the same time. Brother, if you remember where you left off, please continue.
Oh, you wild, boy. All right, so like I was saying, it's basically what you said before when you were talking about the people that have been incarcerated. And what did you call it? There's a specific phrase that they use that you had said that you mentioned. I think it was something about no representation, taxation or something.
Yeah, taxation without representation. They talked about that during the Boston Tea Party and the American Revolution, right? Well, we got that going on with our people in the prison system.
Right. And it's not just
don't know they can file taxes if they spent money on commissary and they work in prison. You can get a tax return.
Wow.
They take taxes on that money.
I had no idea, but I do know that that's how I myself feel when it comes to the political climate and aspects of our society as of right this moment right here in the United States of America. I feel like we're not being represented very well. We're giving them all types of money. They're spending all types of money. They got all these blank checks with our dollars behind it. They got a whole lot of money from everybody, but they're not doing anything that's really helping anybody. Some of the issues that I have with the government and politics is that so a lot of these politicians own a boatload of stocks in some of these companies that Moderna, they were telling everybody to take these COVID shots and things of that nature. And they had it so that you couldn't get jobs without these COVID shots in certain cases. I was telling you earlier before we got on that I had been looking for a different job because frankly, I need more money. I'm one of those people that they were talking about that can't stand a $400 hit. Okay.
Right.
So I've been looking for a different job. And a lot of the jobs that I've been finding are still asking me to have the COVID shot. And these politicians own a lot of stock in those companies. Not only that, but all these billions of dollars that I just went through this list of, telling you that they've given away to this other country halfway across the world. A lot of them own stocks in the companies that manufacture these bullets and these bombs that they sat up here and spent our money on. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think it's too much of us to be asking our politicians, like, hey, if you're gonna be in the politics, maybe make it so that you're not in charge of the stocks and bonds that you're buying. Maybe buying to have a firm do it for you, so that you are hands off if you are going to be buying these things. Maybe sell some of the stocks that you got in these things, or put them on hold. You won't buy no more. You won't sell no more, because the whole thing with Nancy Pelosi and the way that they were coming up with all these different papers that she was acting like she might be guilty of insider trading, quite frankly, is disturbing, because this woman is creating, along with her friends in the Senate, in the House, they're creating laws that govern everybody in the whole United States. And it's like they got the inside track, and they're using it to their advantage, to the point where they're making a lot of money. And like I said, everybody else is broke. So I don't really buy into the Republicans or the Democrats, quite frankly with
you. The right wing, the left wing, one bird, if you ask me.
Right. Yeah.
I've been talking with a lot of people, and you know, we've been like, if we had our own party, what we call it, the after party. After they get through bumping their gums, here's the people. You know what I mean? that's my joke for it. The People's Party, whatever, you know, the Green Party. There's a whole lot of things that's actually coming up, and it might be on the ballot coming up next year during our presidential election. Like should there be a cap on how long somebody can serve in Senate? And I think definitely.
So.
You know, we got these ancient people making laws that are really out of touch with the current the current generations and the way things are in our society right now, and really far out of touch, considering that they've been serving on Capitol Hill for the last 20 some years. They're not out here, you know, at the ground level, at the front lines with all the people bumping elbows with us every single day on the buses, subways, you know, on the way to and from work, you know, going out to eat, shopping at the grocery store. No, they're tucked away in their nice suburb homes, mini mansions, wherever they're at. And these people get this upteen amount of money for the rest of their lives, even after they get done.
Yes.
And we got people that's hungry in this country. So like, a lot of stuff needs to change, and it's not going to change if we don't vote and occupy these seats ourselves. Yeah, that's
absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more, because that was another aspect of it. When I found out that you only had to be a one-term, you could be a one-hit and quit, and you know, depending on if you were in certain, I believe they call them subcommittees. If you were in certain subcommittees, you could quite possibly be having, you know, if you call them up and tell them you need some security, they're going to send security to go wherever you feel like you finna go. Like you going to a party or a mixer or whatever, you're like, oh no, it might be a little dicey. Bam, you get on the phone and call them. They will have a security detail for you because you were on a certain subcommittee or whatever, select committee or whatever. And their healthcare, they get healthcare for themselves and their immediate family. That means all their sons, all their daughters, their significant other, for the rest of their life. They don't have to pay for no healthcare. So say they have an operation at me, or you might have to pay an arm and a leg for going to debt to make sure grandma could live an extra 2 or 3 years. You know what I'm saying? But they get it on the strength, and we're paying for it. And if they do one term, they also qualify for a pension. They get a pension after what, and that's a 2-year term, bro. That's 2 years for a pension. Imagine if we can get a 2-year pension. You feel me?
Like, you know what I'm saying? Most people have to put a lifetime of work into a company to get a pension,
and be lucky to get one.
You know what I'm saying?
And be lucky.
Like you got to have one of those post office jobs, and a certain job at the post office like that to even get anything close to that. So
Yeah.
coming for a blue collar America, you know. So, but like education and more things. That's why this stuff is important. Never beat yourself and thinking like none of this matters. It's out of your reach or anything. You know what I mean? Because it's most definitely in your reach. Especially young people between the ages of 18 to 25 years old. That age group is going to be targeted the most for the vote. And that's the age group. That's the age group that really should be looking at getting involved in these offices and stuff. We had a 21-year-old judge somewhere. Where was that at? I believe in Maryland or something. 21-year-old judge. There's another. There's another mayor that was under 25 years old in the country. There's a sister down south who got a judicial seat. She's in her early 20s, and these are different places where I wanted to be a judge in Minnesota. I have to graduate law school first, but that's not a requirement in every state to have to graduate law school to get voted to become a judge.
What?
It's not required in every single state. You know what I mean? So
yeah. I don't know what you mean. I'm listening to you like, whoa,
right. You know what I mean? So some people could just go ahead and get that judicial seat just based off of popularity. You know what I mean?
Whoa.
But at the same time, if you got to go to law school to replace the judge that unfairly sentenced your cousin Willie to life in prison, knowing he was innocent, then that's what you got to do to be the change you want to see, because they're not going to do it for us. You know what I mean? And we need more representation in the judicial system of our own, just like we need more representation in the city halls of our own. We need more self-representation in the school board, as well as a chamber of commerce, roads, park and recreation, healthcare, and all that stuff, to appropriate the funds where they need to go. That Absolutely. Way, we don't look at our neighborhood deteriorating while we're seeing the suburbs and the out there in the hills, prospering with brand new roads and state-of-the-art schools, and our schools, our kids are going to school on 40-year-old school buses. They got brand new electric ones. Why? Because their people, number one, they pay taxes. A lot of them people aren't sitting back, collecting unemployment and avoiding work. You know what I'm saying? Or cutting quarters, making tax-free money, if you know what I'm saying. They're actually paying taxes, and they get out to those polls and they hit those ballots and they vote. They have the education on who they're voting for. They know, hey, we got to get this man, we got to get this woman in office because we're trying to get here, and they're going to make sure it happens. Right? They got pulled here, and there. And all that begins with what? Education. Right. So this is something that's actually really, really worth it to be able to take time out of our lives to look up and see.
I couldn't agree with you more. And even though I was just talking about like on a national level, as far as like the government is concerned, really, I feel like it's more important and more of an integral step for us to take in order to make these strides and turn it into what we need it to be, what we desperately need it to be. And that would be at the local level. You know what I mean? If we can make change and get change going around in the local level, it's gonna work out better for us, because those might be some of the changes and some differences that we can see in the here and now, as opposed to, like you said, trying to convince 580 or 680-year-old people. Dick Durbin's got to be in his 80s. He's from out here in Illinois. He's steady. He's been having a run. He's been representing us for the House for the longest time. As long as I've been alive, I want to say, at least, and I'm damn near 50. And he's got to be in his late 70s, early 80s. And there's other, Mitch McConnell. I don't know if you know this guy. He's a war criminal as far as I'm concerned. But that's beside the point. If you look at the man, you could tell he's extra old, like he's living on borrowed time. You know what I mean? There's a lot of them that, like you said, that are super old. They're really insulated. they don't have to necessarily deal with normal everyday people that they're supposed to be representing. And so they have this fantasy of what the American people need and what the American people want. And they're so high up on their soapbox that they believe that they're doing the right thing. When in fact, you know, we're out here suffering. So like I said, it needs to be addressed. There needs to be radical change, but at the same time, instead of the radical change that we may be wanting and desperately needing, we may be better picking our battles by doing it on the local levels, which is city and state.
All right. I got to ask, do we have any question and answers right now? This would be our question and answer session. If there's any question and answers, please leave them in the comments. I can see the comments right over here. And if not, we're just going to keep the conversation going. We covered voting, the process of voting, the process of getting your rights back, and possibly even your gun rights back, which is getting your record sealed and everything, depending on where you live in the United States. We actually gave you the formula on how to look it up yourself. We let you know why we should vote, what we should be voting for, or whatever. And we've done that basically by showing you how money's appropriated and where it goes without anything. So
I was trying to look at the chat. You know, I'm not so great at that. What was I going to say? Also, in the political spectrum, speaking of political spectrum, did you see that they're saying that former, and this is just my opinion, you can quote me on it as far as I'm concerned, because this is my opinion, but former scumbag president, former president scumbag Trump, he's getting ready to supposedly surrender himself Tuesday for being indicted for paying off one of his side chicks or whatever, one of his dipsets or whatever you want to call it. I don't know exactly what the
Stormy Daniels thing.
Yeah. And they're saying that they're saying they're accusing him and they're trying to take him to, they're indicting him for this. And they're saying that he did that in order to change the outcome of an election, because I guess if people knew that this was going on, that they may or may not have voted a certain way, which may be true. Maybe, you know, somebody would have voted differently if they knew that this cat was doing whatever with his little dipset. You know, that could quite possibly be true. But at the same time, we also have the issue of Hunter Biden's laptop, which was showing him doing some shady dealings over there. And you guessed it, Ukraine.
Right.
he was in Ukraine doing some shady type ish, you know, and his laptop was lost, recovered, everything on the inside came out. And guess what? They actively suppressed people from finding out the different things that he was doing that was on that laptop, the information that was on that laptop. So if that's the case, if Trump did whatever he did, which I couldn't care if the guy went to jail or not. Again, I'm not a big Trump fan. I don't particularly care for the guy.
Right.
You know, I don't like the way he talks. I don't like the way he walks. And if I see him wear another one of them suits that don't fit him correctly, I swear I'm gonna go crazy. But I mean, if he did that and being accused of that, he can very well go to jail for that. Then why can't whoever it is that suppressed these things for Biden, because he didn't want to be embarrassed from his son's dealings overseas in Ukraine? I don't understand why it's in the entitlement of the whole political system, because he's an outsider. I really don't think Trump is really part of their whole political plan or political, you know, the tribalism that they do. I know gangbanging when I see it, you know what I'm saying? Right. I'm certified. So they out there gangbanging, you know what I'm saying? For real. They just ain't shooting. So if this is the case, I don't really think that Trump was really part of all that. I think he was like a wild card that just kind of got on somehow. somebody believed in him. It wasn't me. I didn't vote for him.
Right.
But that just goes to show you that because Biden definitely has been doing this for a long time. He's definitely part of the establishment. He's definitely part of all these people that have been doing this for a long time. But the point that I was trying to make is that the entitlement for them to say, oh, Trump, we're going to get you. You look what you did. And then they're like, shh, don't say nothing about Biden. Y'all, it's good. He didn't do nothing. It ain't too bad. It ain't too bad.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Get out of here.
All that's gonna come. Like we were talking about this stuff with Trump while he was in office. Now he's not in office anymore. So just wait till Biden's term is over. All this stuff will come back up once he's of no use to them no more. And really, like Trump being in the media and stuff about getting locked up, I expect him to run for the presidency, and I expect him to have a good chance of getting back into office, especially after he got to deal with 4 years of this old man.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Just out of reality, it's just human nature. I think, especially for Westerners and Americans, just kind of go with what you know versus doing something new. You know what I mean?
The devil,
I call that based off of where we've been in life already. You know what I mean? So
right.
You know,
yeah,
so that's just
basically
right with it. That's a political move. They're doing this to get to promote Donald Trump and try to get him back into office if Kamala Harris don't run in place of Biden next year. So that's what we're looking at in 2024.
I kind of got the impression that they was hold on. I kind of got the impression that they was embarrassing Kamala. I don't even know how you pronounce that chick name, bro. I heard it a couple different ways, and from what I understand, they keep on acting like she's just like a big clown sideshow, and I just feel so bad for the chick. Like I really don't know her. You know what I mean? I do know after she got on and she ended up being the VP, I did find out, I did a little research on her, and I found out that her her record as far as prosecuting people and stuff like that for marijuana was like super horrible. Like she really tried to ruin people's lives and pound them into the dirt because of marijuana, which is, I mean, I get it. At the time, it was illegal. But come on, it's weed. It was marijuana, okay?
Right.
You know,
right.
you don't need to pound somebody's entire life into the dirt because you're trying to
lock a lot of brothers up out there in California, guys.
Yeah, that's what I heard. That's what I heard.
So
yeah,
exactly. And then that's part of that Clinton administration. You know, we talk about how Bill Clinton was such a good president. Well, that administration locked a lot of us up. Prison population was booming in that free economy during the Clinton administration. It was easy to make money out on the block. I remember I was 18. I was a young man and I did all that, but it was easy to go to prison too. I remember because like my big homies was in and out that joint.
Yeah.
For years and years. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's like that.
Yeah, like a lot for a living too.
They make money off of that. You know what I mean? So this is why we got to pay attention to who we are electing and who we're putting in office, who they're tied to. Follow the money. Who is funding these people?
Agreed.
Be able to see by who's funding these people, what exactly their interests truly are going to be once they get into the office and the seats that they're holding. That's bottom line. So hey, it's 7:54 right now out in the Central Time Zone. It's 8:54 out on the East Coast. Out here on the West Coast, it is 5:54. We got to get into another commercial break, but we'll be back to holler at you briefly right after these messages. Keep it locked right here. Get the point.
Love to welcome you all to
A-Talk. Just like Flint, all this stuff gets pushed to the side and it's crazy, but we will talk about it because we have to have an A-Talk about it. Yeah. How you feel about the government response to this?
I mean, the city and the state, they have responded by giving bottles of water, but that's not enough. There's so much more that could be getting done.
Things like this makes me wonder Who planned this, or is this already orchestrated?
I'll make sure, put it.
All right,
Good
get the
show,
point.
Samori.
Make sure you chop it up with Samori and them too on this show. We got stuff going on here at Plus TV Network. You don't want to miss it. Left and Right. Asian Sisterhood Show too is another really, really good show. Good vibe, good energy that y'all are going to want to tune into. Today is the 2nd of April, 2023. I am Brother Marcus. We got Brother El Shabazz here. We've been talking about politics, voting, getting elections, participating in the election, participating in the voting process, getting your rights back, sealing your record, and becoming a productive citizen in the society, and making sure that your funds and everything get appropriated in your community correctly. If you have any questions, go ahead, shoot them at us. If not, we want to thank you guys, everybody, for tuning in. We're going to go ahead and give you our final thoughts. I'll let El Shabazz go ahead and pop his off first. Go ahead, my brother.
Hey, so on a side note, for my final thoughts, I would be checking in to get my rights back for my gun. I'm talking about, I'm doing that. As soon as I get home, I'm doing that. Okay.
Right.
But basically, what Brother Marcus summed it up though. Really, do your due diligence. Do yourself and your community and everybody else a favor. Check into these people that are trying to get into these offices. All of them might not have your best interests at heart, and some of them might be actually on the level. You got to be picky. You got to be choosy. You got to check these people out. Definitely get out and vote. We're thinking about trying to get something together with the guys to where we can actually, not necessarily lobby, but show them that we're together and put these folks together so that we can actually be at the table. Because as of right now, when we vote alone and vote for ourselves and vote for selfish reasons, we don't get a seat at the table. So we're going to try and get something together so that we can maximize our vote and actually have a piece at the table.
Right. And, in the comments, I want to add street tribes, Stones, Lords, Disciples, Bloods, Crips, Kings, all y'all. If we could mobilize ourselves to move in this direction, it would definitely change the game. It would definitely change the game. The LSD2 movement, Lord Stone Disciple movement. Please play this back if you're just now tuning into this. Apply this to your own reality where you're at in your local areas. And those of us who don't have records or ain't been too far down the wrong path, right, and have a clean enough record and clear enough mind, get the education that you need to go ahead and fill up these seats. And not only on your city council, your school board, even the highest office of the land to try to run for president, right? Mayor, senator, judges, sheriff's office, everything, all that's really, really important that we fill these seats up and everything. So we have a guy back in Minneapolis, brother from the hood. He's the mayor of St. Paul now. He ended up getting that job. Did things get better right when he got into office? No. And especially if you're a black man or a person of color that get into office, if you actually do get into one of these offices, expect some opposing forces to do some stuff out there in the streets to kind of make you look bad. But stay focused on your job and make sure that things, you can get a positive thing out of your run and out of your service to your community. Unemployment went down in the city of St. Paul, and some more stuff. Education got better. Gun violence, not so much for the whole metropolitan area after the riots in Minneapolis and everything. They're still recovering from that back home. That's going to take some time too. But a lot of this stuff has to do with the due process of signing up to vote, signing up for selective services, doing your part for your community, and actually hitting that ballot with the knowledge and knowing what you're doing when you check those boxes on that ballot. That's the most important part, is actually knowing what you're doing and who you're voting for when you do that. So with that being said, that's what I got for this. I want to wish everybody peace, love, blessing, and prosperity. Love, peace, truth, freedom, and justice. And thank you guys for tuning in tonight with myself and El Shabazz. Get to the point.
Get the point. Get the point.
The point. We go ahead and close the show out.